morning and welcome to Youth Assembly. My name is Sylvia Ishegbe. I hope you're doing okay and your Wednesday is already looking good. Well, today we'll be looking at the relevance of school final year projects or researches in solving national problems. Today, I have Dr. Olarewaju Aladeitan. He is an associate professor, Department of Public Law, University of Abuja. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And also with me, I have Oludele Jeremiah Ayo. He is an environmental consultant. Welcome, Mr. Ayo.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Good morning.
So final year projects, FYP, is an important component of higher education degrees, which gives students the opportunity to conduct research on specific problems or problem areas in a society and proffer solutions to them. But while doing this, they develop other skills under the guidance of an assigned supervisor. However, in Nigeria, the main purpose of final year projects is often defeated as students only see it as a means of graduating or to graduating. Well, in many cases, they plagiarize other people's work or pay people to write for them. And in some cases, they bribe supervisors to give them good grades. So what should be done to ensure that final year projects from Nigeria's higher institution serve its purpose? That is a question we'll be asking on this show today with the professor and of course, Oludele Ayo. So I start with Oludele Ayo, an environmental consultant, and also you've been a student. So tell us, let me ask you, what was your final year project like? What was the topic and what was it like for you at the university?
Okay, thank you very much. My final year project was on assessment of different land use on soil properties. It was an interesting project, and I was so eager and very, I wanted to know how project is being done and how the process was. So although there are some projects that, there are financial, that's a lot of financial burden and physical burden. But then it was an interesting process because I took my time to undergo the process and it pays off at the end of the day. Because after then, I was able to have a lot of knowledge about, what I research on and also going to the field to take the data and other things. So it was a very, it was a very interesting journey. And me doing it and going through the process really equipped me and gave me a lot of knowledge about what I wanted to do, which I'm very grateful for today.
Is that what your line of work is that in line with what you did as your project?
Yes, because I research on any part of land use on soil properties, okay. And as it is as of now, I'm an environmental consultant. On I deal with soil, I deal with water, what has to do with environmental impact assessment. So it was no waste at all because what I actually worked on and the knowledge I gained actually helped me, to be an expert and also give me a lot of interest in what I'm actually doing today. Okay. So it was a nice journey and it really pays off.
All right, Professor, some people, their case is not like Oludele's own. Some people don't even have an idea of why they're even doing the project. They just want to graduate. So from your own experience with students, what have you seen so far coming from students wanting to just graduate or do their own projects?
Thank you, Sylvia. You provided a very sense of final year project.
Okay, we can't make out what you're saying. I think there's a disruption in your audio.
Look, can you hear me now? I said, interestingly, you provided a background. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes.
You actually provided an interesting background.
Yes, okay, go ahead with the
fine.
question.
I said you provided a rather interesting background as to the essence of final year project, which is to identify problems and then find solutions to such problem, which invariably will assist in addressing critical national issues and contribute to national development. You also identified some of the challenges, the issue of plagiarism, the issue of paying lecturers to just either do the research for them and then grade them and students go away that way. So fundamentally, from the the issues you have raised, we can pinpoint that some of the problems could have to do with students on the one hand, and then the role of lecturers on the other hand. I'm happy that you were able to narrow down onto the fact that projects are usually researches conducted, and by the very essence of research, it's expected to be some sort of careful investigation or inquiry or a critical observation of some matters, issues, depending on the field of study, regardless of whether it's in the humanities, it's in the law, sciences, or engineering. So you want to carefully investigate certain problems and then come up with solutions to these problems. Now, what has been the experience over time is that students just see this final year project as a fulfillment that they just have to comply with, and therefore a reasonable percentage of students have not been taking it so seriously, which is of course a very sad commentary. Now, the reason why I say the sad commentary is because it denies it denies us the opportunity of very useful recommendations that would have been able to address some of the problems we are facing in the country. I believe strongly that knowing what the problem is, we should be looking at what can be the solution of this particular challenge that we face in our universities. I can propose a solution in the area of encouraging teamwork. Now, rather than assigning project topic to individual students, a group of 4 to 5 students can actually be assigned a topic which they can research together. Of course, the flip side of that is that they may just leave the work to just one serious, diligent, intelligent student to do. But then again, when you expect them to submit individual reports, that could encourage them to also participate under the supervision of the lecturers. So the problem is not just about the student. You have some lecturers who may not even have the time to read through the project or take supervision of the project very seriously. So on the part of we lecturers, we need to understand that projects are very useful to national development and take it more seriously and put in all our best, all our efforts to ensure that students, do their projects.
Okay, Mr. Oludele.
Yeah.
During your time, what are some of the challenges you faced coming from lecturers, or even you noticed in students also, or yourself, while doing your project?
Okay, like the professor said, one of the major challenges that we students have when we're doing undergraduate research or maybe postgraduate program or research is most of the lecturers are engaged with other things, so they hardly have time to even attend to the students. You have to be patient, you have to try to follow them up, and you have to try to work with their own time, to sit down with them and give them that time to have them to attend to you. That is on one part. Then secondly, the financial problems always there. A research is, it requires a tangible research requires, tangible finance, because, if you want to do a research, a lot of things are involved in it. So, having that financial burden, is another problem that comes with, doing a good research. On the norms, the research supposed there are research grants that are supposed to be given to students, to assist them. But this research grants don't get to students, and even, they are being hijacked from the top. So, on the end of the day, you're having problem of having a lot of finance, to sponsor your research and to do a tangible research. Because I remember then when I was undergoing the research, I was to carry out soil analysis, and per soil analysis cost 15,000 naira. I wanted to do a tangible work. At least I wanted to compare different soil samples against, some parameters, to do some parameters and compare soil samples against each other for some different land uses. But because of the financial constraints, it was way beyond my pocket. So I just had to find a way to manage the situation. So that's another aspect.
Okay.
Then thirdly, I think sometimes when you see a research being done and a student submits research, and at the end of the day, the hard copy is being graded and dumped outside or in an office. It's kind of like gives a student this mentality that at the end of the day, the research is going to be dumped somewhere without being used. So, it gives student that mentality that there's no point stressing on the going research, because the research is actually very stressful and it takes a lot. So, and students just feel like instead of me going through this process and at the end of the day, the research is going to be dumped somewhere without being used, why don't I just go ahead and give somebody the money to do the project, or try to boycott ways and giving lecturer money to just get this whole thing over with. So I think the challenges are large. It comes in the aspects of the students, it comes from the aspect of the lecturers, and also the policymakers and institutions and our government are not helping matters, because if there are finance and funds that are given and instituting the students, it will have assist them to do a tangible work and also contribute to national development, just like you say.
Okay. All right. So do you think students are well informed of what really, maybe starting from when they enter university, or what really a project is all about and why they should participate, hopefully, to get an innovative project at the end of school year?
Okay, thank you. I think at points the students are not well informed, because normally in academic program you have a course that is assigned for project research that a lecturer teaches and stuff. But at the end of the day, most of the students don't get to digest what the lecturer teaches, and also at some points they just believe that when they get to the stage, they are going to follow how the process is being done. But most of the students, don't understand what it takes. So at the end of the day, the lecturer had to, be patient with them, to sit down with them and, go through the, teaching them how to do research, teaching them how to do the project, and then from beginning to the ending, which, it actually takes time and other things. So I think the time, given to lecturers to teach the course as project is concerned is too short. And also, this project writing should be a process that is being taught from 100 level down to 400 level, because just a semester course assigned to project is too short for the students to actually digest and understand what project is all about, because it takes a lot, right from when you do the project, from when you start to pick the topic down to when you do your findings. It's actually a rigorous process. And this short time, just a semester into the students to just understand what it is, it's too short. So most of the students don't understand what the project is all about. In fact, some lecturers start to take the pain to just sit down, start lecturing, and the students from beginning to just understand what the project is all about. So I think the time is too short, and the students, half of the students, like I can say, 60-70% of the students don't understand what project is all about. So I don't the aim of doing the project in school is not being achieved.
Okay. So how do you think this can be achieved, or this can be fixed in a higher institution?
Like I say, if I can advise,
Okay.
the course should be something that should be incorporated from 100 level down to 400 level at least. The maybe right starting from the chapter 1 down to the last chapter, maybe a chapter can be discussed at each level. 100 level, you can teach them how to go about stating a research problem, teaching on how to go about formulating aim and objectives, teaching on how to go about doing it. Like then when you get to 200 level, you're being taught how to go about your chapter 2, which has to do with the literature review and also and so forth, like that.
Right.
That might help them to really understand what it takes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lidele. Welcome back, Professor Lanre. Can you hear me now? Okay. Connections is our problem for today, but we'll continue with you, Mr. Oludele. So moving forward, you've identify some of these problems. And also the issue of plagiarism is a problem. People just go into libraries and just look for old projects and just copy. And then whose responsibility do you think it is to check that students don't go back to take somebody else's work, or they are fined for it? I don't know. What do you think can be done?
Okay, I'll give you a good example with the issue of plagiarism. I think when I was in school, students copy another student's projects, and a diligent lecturer supervising the projects, was very familiar with the previous projects that was written by a student of his. So he discovered that, and he was able to bring it to the department, notice that this project has been done before, and that's, it's something, because it essentially means that some lecturer actually, interested in the project, school project work, and they are reading it thoroughly. For the lecturer to be able to detect that this, project has been done by someone and it's being copied and used by another person. So the issue of plagiarism, it's an offense it's an offense on its own. So I think the issue of plagiarism can be addressed, by the department, by the lecturers in the school, because they are used to writing projects and they are used to supervising projects. So they should be used to all the projects and has been done. And again, I think in every department in an institution, they have where they keep their students' projects, and there's an attendant that attends to this project, that records this project, that records the topic and everything has been done. I think, and they have a record book for every project that's been written by previous students in their hands. So I think they should be checking this record against the new projects topic submitted by the new students.
Some people go as far as going to other schools to get these projects. So
yeah,
the school might not be in the know that this project was actually somebody else's, or they go online to get them. So
yeah,
what is the role of students now? Maybe a better understanding of what projects or what it tend to benefit from writing an original project by themselves. What are those benefits?
Okay, first of all, let me address people copying from other institution in a project. Every institution has a guideline of how they go about writing the project. If you are in an institution and you're copying a project from another institution, a lecturer is used to that institution will know that you're copying a project from that institution because it's used to their guideline. Every institution has, their guideline on their format and their process of writing a project. Every institution, like I said, has their guideline. So if you copy an institution project, you will be, definitely lecturer will know that this project is something that is already done and you're copying it somewhere. There are checkmates. Like some departments, there are some things they look out for in a project, and when they don't see it in it, they know that this project definitely is copied from somewhere because it's another department, for format of writing a project. So those are ways you can checkmate plagiarism from other university. Okay. But students should be made to know that projects writing is an interesting thing to do, and is a very high benefit. And I think if they are being, educated enough, and sensitized about what project is all about and how it contributes to national development, it might prick their interest, to really actually, put their mind down and put their head down and also focus on it in writing the project and making sure that they go through the process thoroughly.
Okay. Welcome back. Okay. We'll get back to you, Mr. Oludele. Welcome back, Dr. Larry.
Yeah, thank you, and sorry for the breaking transmission.
No problem. Okay, so supervisors, he has said a lot about the challenges students face, even institutions or supervisors face when it comes to supervising projects. And he mentioned things like research, grants, financial constraints, and so many more. So supervisors, we know, play an important role in guiding students, but many students have experiences of the project supervisor not being available or not being into their projects, not going through their project diligently before they submit. So how big of a problem is this in Nigerian institutions, and how can it be addressed?
Okay, I totally agree with the aspect of some supervisors not going through projects diligently. And that can be, I'm not justifying it because it shouldn't be a problem, but you know, we have a very huge population of students, and in a situation where you have to assign or allocate close to about 10, 20 students to a single person to supervise. Now you're beginning to doubt the extent or level or degree of diligence that such a supervisor would pay to, you know, supervising those students, because practically it would be difficult to read through all of their work within the short time given to submit their final report for grading and assessment. So, you know, that's one of the challenges. On the availability of supervisor, I wouldn't say that in most cases supervisors are not available, but I'd rather that the students themselves hardly make themselves hardly present themselves to the supervisors. And for instance, I'll give you some insight. I had a situation where students will come like 3 or 4 weeks to the deadline for submission. And the whole idea is so that I won't be thorough, so that I won't be diligent to go through it. And I tell them, no, this is part of your grading assessment, and that except you are prepared for us to start from the beginning, go through the process to the end, I am not going to supervise you. So you have to undertake that, yes, you're willing to submit yourself and willing to present yourself for supervision, and not to bring to me a work. You know, you find a scenario where a student assigned to you do not approach you, do not present himself or herself to you until when it's the deadline and it comes with the 5 chapters expected to be submitted. In such situation, what do you make of that? I mean, so as a supervisor, I tell them, no, I cannot, you know, append my signature to this work as having been supervised by me. So you need to go back, and then we start all over again, right from chapter 1 through to the last chapter before I can say, yes, I have actually supervised this work. So that's one of the problems. Now, having said that, that is not to deny the fact that in some instances, some supervisors are not available to actually attend to their students. In such situation, there is always there's a mechanism to address that. Now, if you find it difficult to assess your supervisor, what is expected of you to do is to go back to your head of the department, who will either, you know, get in touch with that supervisor, find out why he or she hasn't been available, and if not satisfied, he can reassign you to another supervisor who takes over the supervision and complete the work, while appropriate sanctions will be meted out to such a supervisor. You understand? So there's actually a mechanism. So the problem, but I tell you the truth, it's not so much about the supervisor being available. It's that students feel that, oh, when they come towards the end of the semester and then they plead, and then you look at them that, oh, without this, they will not graduate. You will just want to append your signature to whatever they're submitting. But I don't do that. And I don't, yes, encourage it.
So when these things arise, don't you think it is also due to the fact that there has been some kind of failure on the part of people who are supposed to supervise them or teach them of what the benefits, what it stands to benefit from writing a project, or prepare them for their final year projects? I mean, Mr. Oludele mentioned earlier that why don't they start the chapter 1, maybe in year 1, year 2, they teach them how to
I don't agree with that. Let me tell you how this can be addressed.
How can it be addressed? Okay, go ahead.
Number one, you see, most universities actually have a course titled research methodology, which is taught at, you know, at a particular level, maybe 200 or 300 level at the social science faculty, for them to be able to have a grasp of what it takes to conduct a research. And, you know, so that gives them a background on what research is all about, the methodology to be adopted and all of that. Now, what could be done, which of course, again, is not being practiced in most cases, is to inculcate the culture of researching in students from year 1 through term papers. Okay. So if all lecturers give as part of their grading, give assignment to students to research on and submit 10 papers. When you submit that in first semester of year 1, second semester of year 1, first semester of year 2, second semester of year 2, first semester of year 3, second semester of year 3, by the time you're getting to your final year, either in fourth year or the fifth year, you would have actually understood what it takes to research and how to go about it. And that would have prepared you. Unfortunately, that may not be happening in most cases because of, I don't know, maybe student population or what have you. Yeah. So that's one way of dealing with it, not chapter 1, chapter 2 from the various years. Because in any case, you've not actually acquired the extent of knowledge, because you see, research is about developing knowledge. Is all about new knowledge or disagreeing with an existing set of knowledge and coming up with new one, because you want to the essence of it is when you go through the diligent, careful, critical investigation of the subject matter you're researching into, what you're trying to achieve is to ensure that the student can either expand the scope of knowledge, as it were, or to verify that set of knowledge, or to critique it and then come up with new set of knowledge, and that will be beneficial to national development.
All right, Mr. Oludele, what do you think institutions of higher learning should do to make sure that the students churn out quality, innovative projects at the end of it all?
Okay, thank you. The first thing is every topic selected. First of all, let me first correct the notion you made. I didn't say the project should start from under level. I only said they should be taught how to go about writing projects from 100 level down to 400 level. Yeah, thank you. Then secondly, about what you asked, I think the topic selected should be thoroughly checked to make sure that the topic is relevant to solve societal problem and also to add to national development. That's number one. Then number two, I think they should be educated well enough to know the importance of writing a project and the relevance of writing a project. That might I'll give them the opportunity to pick interest in writing a project and doing it thoroughly, so as to develop and also to add to national development. Then the research grants, if it can get to students when they needed it, it might also assist them to do a good research, which it will add to national development. This research grant, like I said, it should get to those that are required, that needed it, so that they will be able to do something tangible and something good. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Larry, some students have gone further to get an MSc or PhD, and then they're faced with challenges of, oh, I didn't publish my project. They're asking them for those things. Oh, I don't know how to, a good background of how to do a research. Now, what do students tend to benefit when they thoroughly do research by themselves and go through the process step by step with their supervisors? And also, what do the society as a whole tend to benefit?
I'll give you a personal experience, and this is what I've been doing over time. I put myself in my students' project always, and that's for one reason, because I usually agree on topics that I believe will be beneficial to society, and because it will be beneficial to society, I want to be part of that project. And so from the beginning to the end, I am involved with my students researching on that particular topic. And ultimately, what we do is that after my students must have completed their project, I bring out the key chapter of that project and then work on it and jointly with my students publish it. And so you find that in most of my publication, I always have my student as co-publisher, and it has helped a number of them in terms of employment. When I have to write their reference, I tell the employee, this is what the student has been able to do, and the effort paid off as a published article in so journal. So the employer knows that this student is a hardworking student ab initio. And so again, some of them have also used it to get admission into higher learning of repute outside of the country. So these are some of it. And in any case, some of our recommendations, but sometimes when we look at some policy direction of government in terms of some of the issues we have researched on, you find that some of our recommendations have been put into effect. They have been implemented one way or the other. And so we've been contributing in our own little space to national policy direction. And that's some of the advantage of lecturers working with their students. And I'm sure most of my colleagues who does that are doing that. Then finally, I will not be doing justice to the efforts of the students and that of the lecturers if I do not mention the fact that some of the industry operators deny us of basic facts and statistics required. I'll give you, for instance, there's a particular study that myself and the student were doing on encouraging Afrocentric legal model for dispute resolution using a particular program that featured on as a case study. We met the anchorman, and he promised to give us some of the statistics. Towards the end of the particular semester, they did not supply us those facts, those statistics were required. So we had to turn the work into a doctrinal study instead of an empirical one. So these are some of the challenges students also face. When they go out, the facts are not there, they are not allowed. We write letters, we do all of that, we introduce the students, we tell them it's purely for academic purpose, but we meet brick walls. And so these are some of the challenges we also face. And funny enough, you'll find that there are so many consulting work that are given out to a number of foreign what have you, that our students have actually profiled solutions to the problems. But because we are neglected, there's always this, head or tail we lose as academics. That's the unfortunate situation. They think we're not doing so much. But come to the university, you have in our archives a lot of work that could be beneficial to the society and would contribute to national development.
All right. If you're to tell a law student, you're a professor of law, law student right now who is looking to write projects, what areas to look at with the challenges the society is facing on systemic racism, human rights abuses and all, what areas would you say that law student should look at?
Obviously, now we're looking at, for instance, on the issue of rape, which is becoming so problematic. We should be looking at how adequate the punishment, being, stipulated in the laws. Are they adequate, or should we be reviewing the punishment in order to act as deterrent for would-be perpetrators? That's one area. Another thing is, in view of the COVID-19 pandemic, what are some of the legal issues that could arise? Crime and all of those things. How can we deal with them from a legal perspective? So these are some contemporary issues that can be researched into and then you can come up with some suggestions that could assist either the National Assembly or even the law enforcement agents. So these are some topics that could be very useful. Okay,
and for you, Mr. Oludele, environmental consultant, in your field of work, what would you be telling a prospective environmentalist on the areas of research to focus on at this time?
At this time, I think the major area is on this issue of flooding. If you look at Lagos right now, it's being flooded. A lot of people, a lot of properties are being destroyed, lives, are being lost and everything. So I think we need to look into issue of flooding, issue of illegal dumping of waste, issue of poor housing structures, issue of unplanned settlements, And also, like the present trend with COVID-19, we need to look at the impact of it on social, economic of people, how they are coping, and know how to help them in order to solve these issues they are facing. So those are basic areas that we should be looking at now. And again, also like the issue of this flood also has impact on soil, washing away of topsoil. We should looking at it in the aspect of researching on how much of this soil nutrients have been lost and the impact on our agricultural production, because at the end of the day we need food to survive. So those are the major areas we are looking that we should be looking at.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Oludele Jeremiah Ayo, environmental consultant, for all the insight you've given us on your work and going forward for students. And to you,
quickly add,
yes, sir?
On the issue of environment, it's also important for us to examine the nexus between public health and the environment. So is there a connection? Because with this pandemic, do we have a connection between public health and the environment? And obviously, that will help also to address some key national issues.
Definitely. I feel like I should be a law student now, having you as a supervisor.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Olarewaju Alade-Itong. He is an associate professor, Department of Public Law, University of Abuja. Thank you for what you do, and keep making Nigeria proud.
Thank you.
All right, this is where Youth Assembly ends for today. We'll make a return on Monday at 10 a.m. Continue to listen to me at www.clickniger.net. Follow us on our Twitter page at ClickNiger1, on Instagram, we're at ClickNiger, and on Facebook, Click Niger. My name is Sylvia Ishegbe, and this show was produced by Iyoma Ukeje under the supervision of Ehi Ohiani. Bye for now.